everyone. On behalf of RCPI, I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Maylee Santos. I'm one of the Institute of Medicine program coordinators. And before we get started, let me just give you a quick overview of who you'll be listening to. Firstly, you'll hear from Dr. John Garvey, who is the Regional Program Director for the St. Vincent's Hub, followed then by Dr. Rachel McNamara, one of our current Year 2 BST trainees. And then lastly, we will hold a Q&A session with questions already submitted to bsd@rcpi.ie. If you have a question during the session, we kindly ask that you email it to bsd@rcpi.ie. We hope you enjoy it, and thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. John Garvey. I'm a consultant physician in respiratory medicine at St. Vincent's University Hospital. I'm going to give a short overview on working and training in medicine for those interested in pursuing this as their future career. So the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland is Ireland's largest postgraduate medical institution. It houses 6 of the 13 postgraduate specialist training bodies in Ireland, and the Institute of Medicine is the national training body which oversees general medical training in Ireland. So it has over 700 trainees in BST and higher specialty training, which makes it the largest postgraduate specialist training body. It's accredited by the Medical Council of Ireland, and it's tasked with developing and monitoring the medical training programs. This is the Director of Training, Professor Ed McCone, one of my colleagues in respiratory medicine in St. Vincent's University Hospital. So there are 17 training programs, but some of the training programs offer dual accreditation in general internal medicine. So as a respiratory physician, when I did higher specialty training, I was dual accredited in both respiratory medicine and general internal medicine. So depending on the training program, dual accreditation in general and internal medicine may be offered. So what's the pathway from obtaining your medical degree to becoming a medical consultant in Ireland? So after qualifying with your medical degree, you complete a 1-year internship. You then apply for basic specialty training, which is a 2-year program. And if you successfully complete basic specialty training and have your membership of the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland, you can apply for higher specialist training, which depending on the specialty is typically a 4 to 6 year program. There may be further variation with regard to this if you pursue a higher degree such as an MD or a PhD as part of your training. Once you've completed higher specialist training, you're awarded a certificate of satisfactory completion of specialist training, which allows you then to apply for consultant positions. So with regard to the BST GIM application, you have to meet a number of minimum requirements for the program. Firstly, you need to have completed your internship by July 12, 2021, and also be eligible for the Trainee Specialist Division of the Medical Council. For those whose first language is not the English language, you need to have proof of competency in the English language in line with the HSE specifications. The application process will open online in October 2020 and close in November 2020. We'll hold interviews in Dublin in February next year, and offers will be made by March of 2021 with a view to the training program starting in July of 2021. Typically, the program is oversubscribed. So last year, we had 278 places available and 368 candidates were interviewed. Specific scoring criteria is laid out for the process. So we focus on your undergraduate qualification and specifically where you ranked in your class. So if you were in the top 10% of your class, you can get 20 marks. If you're in the next 20%, 16 marks. In the next 40%, 12 marks. Other categories which are looked at include research and other qualifications. So if you've got a prior degree or have research publications, up to 10 marks can be awarded in this category. If you've shown evidence of professional development, such as specific courses that you may have done, up to 5 marks can be awarded in this area. We obviously put a lot of focus on clinical acumen and ask specific questions to examine this as part of the interview process, and up to 30 marks are awarded or can be awarded in this category. And finally, up to 20 marks can be awarded for the interview performance and communication skills. If anybody has any queries with regard to the application process, you can contact the RCPI at bst@rcpi.ie. With regard to the training program itself, it's a 2-year program where the trainees are employed at the level of senior house officer, and the trainees rotate between various specialties over the course of the 2 years. Typically, the rotations are 3 to 6 months in duration. So you can see a sample rotation here. Not all rotations are exactly the same, but you can see here in year 1, this trainee will have 3 months in an acute medical unit, 3 months in neurology, 3 months in respiratory medicine, and 3 months in endocrinology. In year 2, they will then have 3 months in geriatric medicine, followed by cardiology, followed by gastroenterology, and finally rheumatology. On average, we take 220 to 230 trainees per year. As part of the BST training program, there's an expectation that people will sit and pass the membership of the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland examination in general medicine. There are also mandatory educational courses to be completed as part of the BST. These would include the course in leadership in clinical practice, courses in ethics, prescribing skills and blood transfusion management, courses in infection control, and trainees are also expected to maintain their certification in advanced cardiac life support. Obviously, the training body which oversees the program is the Institute of Medicine, as I've previously mentioned. So it's an uncertain time for people as they choose their careers often, and people have lots of varying questions. And I suppose it's just to highlight that trainees are quite well supported by the Royal College of Physicians and guided through making their career decisions and managing their work-life balance. And it's to highlight that the RCPI is there to support you as you go forward in your career. These are some of the promises which the RCPI can make to you as potential trainees. So it promises to deliver world-class education and training and provide dedicated trainers and ensure high levels of high standards with regard to hospital-based activities and the structure of the educational program. Your training is going to be certified, and that's extremely important in an international context. And the stages of training are certified. So once you have completed your basic specialty training successfully, the training body, the Institute of Medicine, will certify that training. The college also works to protect your best interests, and will work in dealing with stakeholders, be that the HSE, be that individual and hospitals, to ensure that your best interests are being protected. It also seeks to continuously improve the training programs, and has established a comprehensive framework for this continuous improvement, and is constantly monitoring the quality of the programs that it seeks to deliver. In terms of supporting and guiding individual trainees, there's procedures, courses, assessments, as well as dedicated coordinators for each training program. And a range of digital technologies are also available to support trainees as they go through their training program. So you have supports which are available to you in your hospital, be that in the context of trainers, program directors, training leads, human resources and medical manpower, even regional hospitals of the RCPI, in certain cities such as Cork, Limerick, and Galway, and also at the St. James's Tala Hub. You also have supports available to you off-site and within the RCPI themselves, be that the training program coordinator, the health and wellbeing department, courses team, exam team, education team, and the national specialty director, clinical leads. You also have the potential to have a voice as a trainee. So we have trainee representatives in individual hospitals, and the RCPI also has a trainees committee. So it is open to hearing the voice of trainees. So if anybody has any queries with regard to the BST training program, again, this is the email, bst@rcpi.ie. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rachel McNamara, and I am a second year medical BST in University Hospital Limerick. Today, I hope I'll give you a quick overview of what I believe it's like to be a BST trainee on the General Medical Scheme, and hopefully it'll help you make your decision as to what you'd like to do for the next 2 years and answer any questions that you might have. So this is a brief overview of my presentation. So I'll just give you a bit of context of my life and how I ended up deciding my path and how you might decide your own. Then from the BST point of view, what I believe are the 5 key aspects of the BST training scheme and what could lie beyond that should you complete it, and what will be your own next steps if you would like to pursue this option for your career path. So my own experience, I suppose I graduated in 2010. Then for a brief moment, I thought I wanted to do engineering, which turned out to be a huge mistake. So I went back to the drawing board and decided to do medicine in Trinity and spent 5 blissfully unsocially distanced years there, and very predictably went on to intern year at St. James's Hospital. And then after intern year, I was a bit stuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do whatsoever. And I had always intended to take a year out for sort of recovery and relaxation and a bit of traveling mixed in, which is what I did. And then it came to October 2018, and it was the option of applying to schemes again. And I still wasn't sure. I had ruled a lot of things out, but not a lot of things in. So I took another year to what was initially soul searching, and then proceeded to panic, and then settled on my decision, which was the medical BST at University Hospital Limerick, where I am to this day. So I suppose when you finish engineer, there are countless options, some of more of which will be discussed here as part of this careers afternoon, but lots of training bodies and loads of options, and you don't necessarily need to go ahead for a higher or a basic specialist training scheme. You can always do something else. You can pursue education, do any type of a master's. There's always a role for our degrees in industry. And we are lucky in that sense that even though after intern year you may feel like, oh, you have to do this or that, you just have to keep in mind there are so many options. And I suppose it's also okay not to know immediately what you want to do. If you choose to do a job as a standalone, everything is experience, everything is, we'd say, developing skills that you can put down on a CV. And we're in a, I suppose, lucky position that we are earning all the time that we are still working out exactly what we want to do. And there's never any wasted time because there's multiple ways to upskill for training and non-training doctors at all times, offered by all of the training bodies and or CPI as well in particular. So I decided to go for the BST in general internal medicine because there were several areas of medicine that I was quite interested in, and just the scope was massive. And the BST seemed like a great stepping stone towards all of these, including those three at the bottom, which don't have their own particular BST scheme, but are accessible through the BST and GIM to the HST schemes. And really, I feel that the BST training or life as a BST trainee is broken down into 5 components, and you need a nice helping of each in order to get through the 2 years successfully. So the first would be the jobs themselves, the specialties that you rotate through. So you'll go through 8 3-month specialties, taken from any combination of this list. And some of the hubs will have 6-month jobs, and you can expect to spend at least 6 months outside of the Model 4 hospital that is part of your hub. And these are the hubs which you can choose from, and you will get your preference, I suppose, based on application and interview. So moving jobs every 3 months is challenging, and you could be a dermatology SHO one day, and then the following Monday you're a neurology SHO, and you are doing clinics in that specialty. You are, we say, faking it till you make it, essentially, and asking questions obviously along the way. But it's challenging, and it is designed to test you. And the rewards are great because the challenge is great. You get an exposure to 8 different specialties at least. It's a brilliant networking opportunity because all of those trainers, consultant trainers, will have huge experience, and you're adapting your own transferable skills at that stage also. So the specialties, they're tough. You will also be on call for the vast majority of them, and it's a tough component, but rewarding also. The next aspect, I would see it to be the mandatory elements. So I would break these down into number 1, your e-portfolio, which is an online record that you must complete it's a written record of what you're doing day to day as part of your training and as part of your job. So it really puts you in mind that you're in training, and rather than just providing a service. And like anything, it's an easy task if you complete it as you go along, and not so easy if you leave it all to the end. But I find it good to like, it puts things in context. You've this much of it done, you've this much to go, and it really keeps you on track. And then another aspect are the mandatory courses, which you will take study leave and go to these during your rotations. And hopefully in the post-COVID era, fingers crossed, it will mean more day trips up to Dublin, and they're great as well to kind of mix with other hospitals and meet more people, and really you learn more transferable skills with that also, as well as specific skill sets for the specialty of general medicine. So after those two elements, I would have to mention the exams. So the exams they're tough. It's part of the membership of the Royal College of Physicians in Ireland, and there are 3 exams, 2 written and 1 clinical exam, which I have represented here as weights because they are a weight on your very soul. But I would see them, we'll say, they're milestone exams. You're not trying to get an A, you are really just trying to get them passed, and you must pass them in order. And a tip I would say is that it's best to sit them as close as possible to each other, because a lot of the information overlaps. And there's no point forgetting what you learned for the part 1, because it will be of use to you in the part 2 clinical, we'll say. And they're huge, they're challenging. You can have multiple attempts if you are not successful. But studying for them actually makes you get more out of the job, because it can be a real yes moment on call if you see something that you've studied and you're like, that's what it is, because you see a case and it's something like a case that you encountered while you were studying. So that is certainly a positive that you'll only really get to appreciate when you've done a bit. But with help and with the question banks, you will get through them. And number 4 would be a bit of a lesser known aspect, and it would be the research and CV building component. So I suppose nobody tells you this specifically, but when it comes to applying for higher specialist training, this is something that you wish you had done all along. So there'd always be opportunities to do extracurricular pieces within each job, and they are actually essential to progression to higher specialist training. Now, I know we're thinking a long way down the line, but this is something I wish I had been told towards the start, because the last thing you want to do when you're studying for an exam and you have a tough job and something else is, say somebody comes to you with an audit and you're like, please no. But my advice really is just do it, because it just pays dividends when it comes time to writing applications, doing up your CV and trying to get onto a higher specialist training scheme, which they remain competitive. And these are the types of things that you would want to be looking to get involved with. So audits, presentations, management skills would be in the form of committees, specialist committees that you join as part of working in the hospital. And then teaching is always a great thing to get involved with, and is just another skill set. So I would see it as a key component of the BST, and certainly something that it's great to be keeping in mind as you go along. And then number 5 is absolutely critical and is essential to the other 4 really, and that is everything else. So as a medical student, your main focus was on studying. You may have been working part-time, but it was study was your key focus. Then as an intern, you are working and largely not doing a whole pile of study if you can help it. But as a BST trainee, you are trying to juggle both, and it can be overwhelming. It can be extremely rewarding, but it is really important to keep in mind all of these other factors that will help you go through the other things like the specialties, the exams, the mandatory components, and mental health, of course, is paramount. And if you don't have that, you really just have to prioritize that above all, really. So if you find that you were struggling or something was getting ahead of you, then there are supports available. There are RCPI coordinators locally, which are extremely eager to help. Your fellow trainees are a great source of kind of solidarity and tips on how to get by, and your consultant trainer has seen so many go through the process that they can be a valuable resource too. So for you watching, if you think that this is something that you will be looking into, applications are open and they will close at the end of October, with interviews to be held in January, February 2021. And there's heaps of information as to what you need to apply on the RCPI website. So thank you very much for your attention, and I welcome any questions that you might have at the end. Thanks.
Okay, hi everyone. I hope you all enjoyed that. As I said in the beginning, my name is Maylee Santos, and so now we'll have the Q&A, and I have Dr. John Garvey here with me, and we will also have Dr. Rachel McNamara in just a second, and we'll start the Q&A.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I'm actually in the car park because I couldn't find anywhere to go, but I hope that's okay. Can you hear me?
Okay, so
Be out there for a second. Hi, how are you? This is a good spot. Okay.
Okay, so let me bring up the questions here now. Okay, so our first question is related to work-life balance in BSTJM. The question is, how do you balance family and training?
Do you want to take that, Rachel, or will I?
Yeah, no, I am. So work-life balance. Can you hear me? Actually, there's a bit loud around here.
Yeah, we can hear you well. Yeah.
You can hear. Okay, perfect. So you really have to really plan ahead, and you have to be organized, I suppose. When you start a job, really kind of sit down on the first week and just plan out week to week, and particularly taking your annual leave is extremely important. even if it means it's the first 3 months of the year and you think, oh, I'm full of energy, I'll just keep going. But all of a sudden it gets to kind of Christmas time and everyone wants to take their annual leave, and it becomes more tricky to factor it in time-wise. So it's a matter of planning your leave, being strategic about taking weekends where you know you're going to meet family and friends, and just kind of recognizing within yourself if you're spending too much time working or doing too much call, or and as much as possible plan breaks where you can get to do things that make it all worthwhile and why you're working in the first place, I suppose. Yeah, that would be. But I'll mute now so I'm not causing any audio disturbance.
Okay, so the next question then is, what is the exact steps to take before you apply for BST GIM? How do you register? What are the dates for applying?
So I'll deal with that. So like the application process is open. I think it's been open since the 5th of October, and it will close on Friday, the 13th of November. So Friday the 13th should be easy to remember. All the detail is actually on the RCPI website. So your point of contact for information with regard to this is through the RCPI website, and that's how you apply. You apply online through the website, and what you need to do is actually just check online and ensure that you have all the necessary documentation that you need for your application, and go through that online process.
Right, okay, so next question. What advice would you give to someone uncertain of which career path to take?
Well, I'm going to start with that. I think we're in a time of uncertainty, but one of the things with regard to a career in medicine is that we're often faced with uncertainty. And when I think back to when I was applying for BST, I suppose had it in my head that I was going to do something else other than respiratory medicine. I actually thought at the time of application, I wanted to do gastroenterology. And one of the things with the training program is you get exposure to a number of different specialties, and you learn about the individual specialties as you go through the rotations. That is the same with regard to even higher specialty training, in that you may not realize the subspecialty areas that you actually have an interest in until you actually engage in those parts of training. I didn't know at the start of my medical training that I was going to end up completing my training in Australia. I didn't realize that I was going to work as well in North America, work in Canada as an attending. But I think it's important. It's impossible to plan every aspect of your training from internship all the way through to consultant. But what you're provided for with the training program through the RCPI, which I did, BST and HST, was it put me in a place where I had plenty of options. So I was able to complete my training in Australia. While I was there, based on my higher specialty training and my having received my certificate of satisfactory completion of specialty training, I was offered an attending position in Canada. So it puts you in a good place that you will have options and you will have opportunities afforded to you. You're not going to be certain about everything, but you will be well placed to deal with that uncertainty when it arises. I don't know what Rachel thinks.
No, absolutely. I would agree with you on that one. Just it's always best to kind of leave yourself with options and just be thinking a bit ahead, but not too far ahead, because things change and your opinions change on a lot of things. I suppose one thing lately that I've been thinking about, because I'm sort of trying to look at HST application at the moment, and rather than thinking of what the job or what the specialty can offer you, think about what you're good at. And I suppose at this stage you'll be sort of starting to identify that you like certain aspects and you're good at certain things. And rather than what the job can offer you, rather than what you can offer the job, because if you're doing something that you feel naturally that you have an affinity for, that you're good at, then you will enjoy it more and you'll get more out of it and you'll find yourself succeeding, rather than trying to kind of bang your head against a brick wall about something that just you're naturally not suited to. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, next question then. What are the most important things needed when going for a career in medicine specialties?
I think you need to be patient. It's a long road, and it will have twists and turns with regard to it. But and it's not a sprint. It is a marathon, but eventually you will get there. So you need to have focus on certain things. One is making sure that there's a focus with regards to balance, that you have, because you're not going to get through the marathon, get through all that's involved, unless there is a balance with regard to things. I think, as Rachel pointed, you need to have a focus on multiple aspects. So it's not a case of, it's not a tick the box type process in that I need to do a year here, I need to do a year there, and you go through it. You need to realize that there's particular skills which may not be readily apparent to you that you need to actually pick up, because ultimately you're being trained for a consultant position. And that involves quite a bit. You need to have a skill set with regard to education. You often have to have an awareness with regard to research. You need a skill set with regard to clinical governance, and hence the importance of audit with regard to that. And you need, as well as your clinical skill set, you need to have a managerial skill set, because you're the leader of your team. So these are all skills that you have to think about practicing as you work through your career. We're maybe not as explicit as we should be with regard to those, but the college has helped quite a bit with regard to that in recent years, with set courses to guide people with regard to leadership. So that starts as part of your BST program, because the realization is that, you know, you're a leader at a very early stage, because as a senior house officer, you will help lead your interns on the wards. As a registrar, you will help lead in other areas. So I think it's just having an awareness with regard to those things and the responsibility that you have. I think they're quite important.
I would definitely be inclined to agree with all of that. And as well, it's a I suppose a profession where you're constantly interacting with people, and it's thousands of interactions a day, and you really kind of have to work on how you interact with people, how they perceive you, let's say leadership. Also with medicine, it's a constant kind of yearning for more information, and the most up-to-date information is will always stand to you, because there's just constant developments, and we'll say new protocols and therapies emerging all the time. So it's something that it's a kind of a constant situation where you're looking for the next or the newest guidelines and information. So particularly in medicine, that is really important.
And one more question then. What are the core specialties on the BST GIM?
So I'll deal with that as well. So your core specialties are respiratory, cardiology, geriatrics, endocrinology, and gastroenterology. So you may not get to do all of those core rotations. As part of your BST program, but you will get, it's mandated that you do 3. You're also do a peripheral a rotation in a peripheral hospital, which is extremely useful. You know, as a consultant, I can still remember as a senior house officer when I did my peripheral rotation in Ballinasloe, and I actually worked there also as a registrar. It gives you an understanding of the skill sets that you need as a general medical physician, what it's like to work in smaller hospitals, and not just smaller hospitals in Ireland. I've worked in smaller hospitals in Australia and in Canada as well. So those core specialties and exposures to those core specialties as part of the training program will stand to you throughout your career. You will get exposure to all specialties as part of the general on-call, and ultimately for all of those core specialties, if you continue within them in higher specialty training, you get dual accredited with regard to general internal medicine and the specialty itself. So you know, they're critical parts of the training. I don't know, as somebody who's part of the scheme, I don't know what if you want to add to that, Rachel.
Yes, certainly the peripheral hospitals, it can be quite challenging. Often there's fewer people around, particularly at night, if something is going wrong. But there's always, as an SHO, you'll always have, we'll say, somebody to escalate to. If things get particularly dodgy, you can always send them to the Model 4 hospitals. But in terms of the rotations, yes, you have to do at least 3 of those core. I find that the medical scheme or CPI BST scheme they're quite amenable to swapping around if there's something that you're particularly interested in and you don't have a 3-month rotation in it and somebody else wants out of their rotation, then certainly that in many cases can be facilitated. And if you get some exposure to a specialty, let's say on call, and you think, oh, I want to get more exposure to that, then those requests are looked at, and if possible at all, you'll be accommodated with that.
Yeah, so we had one more question come in at the very end, and I can answer it. The question is there any more detail available on the subcategories for the below scoring criteria detailed in Dr. Garvey's talk, research and other qualifications, professional development? So at this time, we don't have an update on these subcategories, but we will be updating our website. So just be in the lookout for that. We will be updating it in the coming days. So that's it. That's the end. Thank you all very much for joining, and thank you, Dr. Garvey, and thank you, Rachel, for helping me today. And again, if any of you ever have any questions, just email us at bst@rcpi.ie.
Thanks, Millie.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye,
Rachel.
everyone.
Thanks, Maylee. Thanks, Dr. Garvey.